everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Holland Land Office Museum's Artifact Video Series. My name is Ryan Duffy, and I'm the director here at the museum. And this week we're going to talk about one of our more interesting pieces that we have in our collection, and one that leaves visitors asking a lot of questions. Now the portrait you see behind me is one of our largest pieces that we have here, and probably one of the most well-known, as it sits right in our front stairwell here. And the question that I often receive from visitors when they look at it, well, who is that pretty young girl who's in that pink dress in that portrait? And truth be told, it's not a young girl, it's actually a young boy named Charles Willis, and this portrait was painted when he was about 4 years old, and his pink dress is actually his Sunday best. Charles Willis was the favorite son of Alva Willis of Elba. Now Alva was a rather prominent citizen in Elba and fairly well off, and he actually ran the Willis Inn in Elba, which allowed him to interact with all sorts of people coming through the area. And one of the people that he met was an itinerant painter and stagecoach painter, and he commissioned this gentleman to do a portrait of his favorite son, Charles. Now, this was a hefty expense at the time and something that was a major undertaking, as the portrait ends up being about 5 square feet, so it takes up a massive area and would take a long time to paint. Now, Alva wanted the perfect backdrop for his son's portrait, and they picked a spot not far from Elba, about 4 miles away from their tavern on Spring Creek in Byron. And that is the backdrop for the portrait that you see. The subject is Charles holding his favorite fishing rod with 3 freshly caught fish with his basket right near him. Now, if you look in the background, you can see his father, Alva, and his friend, Dr. Billings, in the back fishing as well. Now, everybody comments on the pink dress. Well, it wasn't actually pink, the dress that Charles wore for the portrait, but it looks like the pigments didn't quite match up, and he actually was wearing a red dress that would match up this pretty closely. But over time, I guess it has turned a more pinkish color than probably originally intended. And you're probably asking why Charles is wearing a dress. Well, in the mid-1800s, this was painted in 1854, children of both sexes would wear dresses up until around 7 years old or so. So Charles being only 4 in this, it would be common for him to wear a dress out in public for formal occasions, which his father wanted this to be in the most formal dress that he had. So the portrait was commissioned over several months and ended up costing Alva $460. And that's quite a considerable sum, especially in 1854, but he deemed it was worth every penny, and it came out perfectly. Now, we wish we had more information on the artist who did this, but unfortunately there is no signature on it, and that was actually intentional. We know the sort of background of the artist, but we don't know his name, and Alva did not want an artist's signature on the portrait, as he thought it would take away from Charles's features, and it would distract people from the true subject of it, which was his son. This portrait passed down through many generations of the Willis family, and eventually came to the museum from Charles' great-great-grandson not that long ago, and has been with the museum ever since. But this portrait has also been loaned out to other prominent local museums where you might have seen it. It was on display at the Genesee Country Village in their art gallery when they did a sort of Americana exhibit, and this was one of their prominent pieces. So it's also been around and been seen by many other people, but it's a piece that's very well known here at the museum, and one that people really gravitate to, mostly because of the odd clothing of the subject, but I think the backstory tells a little bit better tale as we learn more about Charles, his father, and why this was even commissioned. The portrait of Charles Willis is only one of the many pieces of art that we have here at the museum, and we have quite a large extensive collection of artwork from local artists of Genesee County, and you can see many of them throughout the museum as you go through. So feel free to stop by and take a look at young Charles Willis in his pretty pink dress, as well as many of the other artifacts that we have here at the museum. Now, in case you missed any of our previous videos, they're all on our YouTube channel, Holland Land Office Museum, and you can go back and check those out. We've got nearly 40 up so far, and we're going to keep going. So if you enjoy these, keep an eye out for as they'll come out every week or so.